Welcome to the Handed Down Kitchen, where we bring antique recipes out of the past and back into the kitchen. Today we're going to show you how to make a 1936 recipe for Eccles cakes, a famous sweet pastry local to the English town of Eccles in Lancashire. People have been baking them for at least 500 years, and despite few bakeries selling them these days, they've remained a well-loved, old-fashioned treat. We found this recipe in our favourite chapter of Elizabeth Craig's Cookery Illustrated in Household Management, which is the local dishes or famous old-fashioned dishes chapter towards the back of the book. You'll get 9 or 10 cakes from this recipe, and to make them you'll need the following ingredients. Starting with the pastry, you'll need half a pound or 227 grams of plain flour, half a teaspoonful of baking powder, a pinch of salt, some water, 3 ounces or 85 grams of butter, 4 ounces or 113 grams of lard. And for the filling you'll need some nutmeg to grate in to taste, 3 ounces or 85 grams of currants, 2 ounces or 56 grams of mixed peel, 1.5 ounces or 43 grams of butter, and some sugar. We'll start by making 1 pound of flaky pastry using the recipe for it earlier in the book. Have a large basin and sieve ready and sift in the flour, baking powder and salt all in one go. Like many of Britain's traditional cakes, Eccles cakes were originally baked for the church's various religious celebrations. It's believed that they were made specifically for the feast day of St Mary's in Eccles that the parish would celebrate with a large festival known as the Eccles Wake, including rush bearing at the church, music, dancing and plenty of Eccles cakes to go round. Now rub in the butter. Our book doesn't tell us whether to use cold or warm butter for this one, so we went for something in the middle, which worked just fine. It was a hot day, so we took our butter out of the fridge, and by the time we used it, most of the chill was off and it was rather soft. Once combined and resembling breadcrumbs, mix in a little cold water until it starts coming together and forms quite a stiff paste. Add the water in degrees until you get the right consistency. You won't need much, just keep the rest of the water to one side to use later on. Then bring it together with your hands. We're going to layer the butter pastry with our lard, so to do this we'll cut thin slices of lard which we've kept cold in the fridge because lard quickly turns mushy when warmed up. You can thin these out even further by putting them between 2 layers of cling film or baking paper and rolling out if you like, but as it was so hot we wanted to work as quickly as possible, so didn't do this ourselves. Thickly dust whatever surface you intend to roll your pastry onto with flour. We also put some cling film on our worktop as this pastry can be quite sticky and the temperature wasn't on our side either. Now roll out the butter pastry into a squarish shape. Don't worry about it cracking as this is inevitable. We can fix it later. Then cover it with the slices of lard. Fold in the sides to the centre, overlapping the lard so it's snugly tucked in the pastry. Then fold it all over in half, and in half again, and roll the pastry out and repeat by folding twice and rolling until the pastry's been folded 8 times and rolled out 4, on the last roll making it 1/3 inch thick. Now cut into rounds 4.5 inches across. You'll end up with 9 or 10. We don't have a cutter that's quite as big as that. The biggest one we have, which we're using here, is 4 inches. Have a freshly floured board or surface ready. Turn the best looking side of the pastry rounds downwards onto it. We'll turn them back over later on. Wet all the way around the edges with a little water. Then set them aside as we make our filling. To start with, melt 1.5 ounces of butter in a small pan over a nice low heat. Turn off the gas and pour in the candied peel, the currants, and grate in as much nutmeg as you fancy. Mix this all together until well combined. The combination of butter, fruits and spices will fill your kitchen with the most wonderful scent. Put a heaped teaspoon of the mixture into the centre of each round. Then bunch up the edges of the pastry, closing it up around the filling. The edges that have been wetted will seal together nicely. This is where the extra ½ inch of pastry would have come in handy, so if, unlike us, you do have the right sized cutter, definitely use it. Do this as slowly and carefully as you like. Flaky pastry isn't that elastic, it likes to crack and you want to avoid this. Turn them over so that the bunched sides are underneath and the best side faces upwards. Then give them a good pat all over to make nice little round cakes. With your rolling pin, roll over the tops of the cakes lightly until the currants begin to peek through the pastry and you can see their colour. This is best done using a smaller, lighter rolling pin or even a small glass bottle. Make one shallow cut down the middle of each. This will let the air out as they bake. Then brush over the tops with water and liberally dredge with sugar. Transfer your cakes to a tray lined with baking paper and put them in the oven at 220 degrees Celsius, that's 428 degrees Fahrenheit, or gas mark 8, to bake for 20 minutes. And these are what you end up with. Golden pastries you can eat hot or cold. The flaky pastry melts in your mouth, the fruit filling is soft and juicy, and the sugar coating gives them a nice crunch and extra sweetness. If there's one thing that doesn't age, it's a good recipe, and this 1930s recipe for an old-fashioned treat should never stop being baked. We hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please leave us a like, and if you'd like to see us recreate more antique recipes, be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can also find full instructions for this recipe and many more on our website, linked in the description box below.